Welcome to the All Creatures of podcast. I am your host, Father Aaron Jenkins, with my co host, Father Ben Little. We are here to discuss goals as this month's topic. We're recording this just before Thanksgiving, really. And so we're kind of in the midst of hunting season. So it seems appropriate to kind of be talking about what do we think our goals are? How do we determine whether or not we had success or not? And how do we kind of think through that as outdoors people? So obviously, this applies to the rest of our lives. How, how do we feel like we're having success in the rest of our lives? But how do we determine success in kind of outdoor life? I guess so. We'll view it for that lens. But before we kind of begin, Ben, just checking in with you. Like, what have you been up to as far as your outdoor endeavors? Any successes? Any fun things that you've been doing?
Yeah, not very much other than a little bit of grouse hunting, um, walk in the woods a little bit. Um, Sort of been a strange year continuing with the, sort of recalibrating my outdoor rhythm, my time off rhythm in the new assignment here at the seminary. Um, but I did get a chance on a free weekend. Um, Actually, a couple of them, and finally knocked a few grouse out of the sky. And actually, I think you can kind of see behind me up there. Got the tried out one of my grouse fans there, tails. So shot a nice one about a week and a half ago. It was kind of a grind. Grouse hunting's tough. Like, I don't have a dog, but I just love getting up in the woods and just a lot of time in the quiet of the woods up in northwest Wisconsin, and connected with a few of them. So
Nice. What?
yeah,
I've never been
yeah.
grouse hunting. So what determines a nice grouse?
Just a one that's a little more mature, a little bigger. You know the the birds that are. I don't know a whole. I'm relatively new to it the last few years as well, but the bigger the bigger the tail fan, just a bigger bird. Just 2-3 year old bird. The year or so, you can, they're still fun to shoot, but sometimes the fan, it might be just about this big for
Gotcha.
those who are watching the video version of the podcast. So yeah.
Okay. What do they taste like? Did they taste like grouse, or
I
did
think
it taste like something else?
they taste like poultry.
Okay.
Like upland. I think they taste very similar to a pheasant. And yeah, I enjoy eating them. They're nice tender white meat. Um, yeah, I usually pound them out a little bit, cut them into little strips, might bread them. Um, yeah, they're great. So,
Sounds tasty.
hmm
Good.
how about
I
you? I mean, I know you've got some big things happening. So,
I did. I went out. It's deer season here, so I'd been sitting in a tree. Oh, probably 5 or 6 times this year. And mostly bow hunting. I took a shot at a smaller guy, but missed. I felt bad because I put a little scrape on his back, so he'll probably be a huge deer now because he won't trust anything in the world, and he'll hide and he'll only come out at night. So he'll probably be the monster that we talk about. But gun season opened up last weekend, I think it was. And So I went and sat, and I shot the biggest deer of my life, and I'm still kind of just in awe of like what happened, because it was like I got to the woods at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's like I don't really want to sit in a tree stand for like 4 hours before sunset, so I took a nap, and then I got in a tree and sat for an hour and a half, the last hour and a half, but the deer actually came in within 45 minutes, and I just shot it. I was actually texting someone on Instagram about an art project that they were doing, and I was curious about what they were doing, and I was just like, that sounds like a deer coming my way. And I finished the sentence and I was like, that sounds like a really close deer. And I looked up and just 50 yards away. So my heart didn't even get racing because I didn't have the time. I just picked up the gun, put it to my shoulder, put him in the sights, pulled the trigger. He ran 75 yards, went down, saw him slide back down the hill. I had plenty of daylight to go over and find him and gut him and get him kind of dragged to a good spot. And yeah, it was just it was insane. And so I just finished the skull. I just finished the mount, so I can show it.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, just kind of nuts. He's only a 9-pointer because I don't think that this one really counts. It's not long enough.
Sure, yeah.
I've kind of done a green gross score on him, and I got like 154. But one of my parishioners at my last parish, like actually is an official score. So we will see what he comes up with. I might have missed a couple inches, or I might have overestimated. So
Mhm.
you never know. But one of the cool things, and we might actually talk about this in a future episode, is this was a shed that I found in the exact same spot, basically, as I shot this deer. You can kind of see, like, that's his grandpa, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, just the way he's, even he's got a little kicker off here. He's got the same kicker coming off. So just really, really cool to see that. And then let me put this guy down. But I actually shot another one a couple of years ago. And again, you can see just that really long tine, right?
Yeah, right at the base there. Yep.
Just kind of the same swoop to it. Just really cool to see kind of the genetics working through. So this is probably his dad. This is probably his grandpa. So when I found this, my dog actually found it, and I picked it up, and I thought, man, that'd be a really nice deer to shoot. And then 10 years later, I shot one that was actually bigger than this. So that's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. Well done.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if I can really say well done, because I just feel like it was such dumb luck. But 15 years sitting in a tree, I guess I put in the time and eventually had one big enough walk in front of me. So it was great. I really wasn't expecting it, because there was a deer taken just on the other side of the hill on not our property, but someone who owns right next to us, and the gut pile was still lying there. So I just didn't really expect to see much that evening, but there you go. Wind was good. He came in. What else can I say?
So, yeah. What kind of did you have? I guess I don't know about Indiana. Do you have any kind of feeder or bait pile or anything like that?
No, we don't. Yeah. We don't allow that. Which I appreciate. Yeah, he was just kind of walking a trail that the deer walk. I've seen him walk that trail 1,000 times. Different deer, but never one that big. That's for sure. Never one that big. I definitely needed help dragging him out. So the guy who shot that deer that morning, I called him up and I was just like, hey, like, I just shot a really big deer and I need help dragging this thing out. And he's like, well, is it bigger than mine? I was like, it's bigger than yours. It makes yours look like a puppy. So he's like, well, screw you. I'm not going to come and help you then. But thankfully he did. So, cause it was a 400-yard drag to get to the 4-wheeler, cause he like died in the worst place possible on our property. So, but it all worked out. It was great. Got to sleep in the next morning, and then I butchered them myself, got them all cleaned up, got the meat all packaged that evening at the house, and then I just worked on the skull yesterday. He was stinking up my garage all week, and boiled not boiled, but put it in a pot and let it stew for 3 hours, and then pressure washed it to get all the meat and gunk off of it,
Yep. Yep.
and then put some peroxide bath on it overnight and shined up the skull pretty good. So yeah,
That nice
I mean it's
European mount. Yeah.
yep, yep.
It looks
I've
great.
kind of I really like European mounts.
Hmm.
I kind of this is gonna sound probably crass maybe, but I always think of a head on a mounted head. It always looks like someone in a casket to me.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
doing our best to like pretty up death, but like it you know, it's not real.
Yeah.
So I like the skull. I like that, kind of that look. One, it's free. It was just time that I had to devote to it. I butchered it myself. So this was a super cheap, super cheap deer for me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So that's
Well,
I've been pretty excited about that. There's been
that's great
parishioners
to
have
hear.
gotten.
I was that yeah, it made my day to get those pictures from you and know we could talk about that. I'm heading up God willing, to Wisconsin. Um Gun season in Wisconsin is always the Saturday to Sunday around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And actually the biggest buck I've ever shot, which is not saying a lot, is an eight nice, a solid 8-pointer I got on Thanksgiving Day a few years ago. And kind of similar, like just wasn't planning on, got up there, had mass in the morning, went up. It's about 3 hours from the Twin Cities, and got there. Mom's cooking dinner. We've got my brother-in-law has his dogs running around. There's all kinds of noise. There's all kinds of smell, and my brother-in-law was, hey, just go sit for a few hours in the afternoon. And so I went out there, and yeah, sure enough, kind of the same thing. Right at the end of shooting hours, and he came right in and dropped him. Yeah, probably about 50-yard run, and got him, gutted him. Had and then sat down to Thanksgiving dinner, and then had the backstrap for breakfast. The classic morning after the kill breakfast. So on Friday. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I ate his backstraps this week, and he was tasty. He was
Hmm.
surprisingly tasty for being as big as he was and everything.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah.
a really heavy-bodied deer, but he was super long. Like his loins were like 4 feet long.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
but he was very tasty. So we've already kind of hit on the topic just by your grouse hunting and my deer hunting, but like the topic is goals. So like I think goals are a good thing for us to have in life, and kind of how do we go about that, but having like realistic goals and goals that like help us feel like we're doing something, um but like aren't so grandiose that uh it just kind of ruins the experience. So
Hmm.
um so like with you, like how both of us are probably more fishermen than we are hunters, and my goals for fishing and hunting would probably be different, hopefully, because I'm not using a gun for fishing. But how do you go about setting goals for yourself in your kind of outdoor life, and what's that look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think thinking about this topic, I've kind of, like I've been sharing on the podcast so far. I've got this new assignment where I'm, hopefully teaching, these future priests how to pray well. Um, and the goal of prayer is union with God, and you don't go to pray to make yourself, to work on yourself, so to speak. It's to get to know God better. And so when I think about my outdoor pursuits, and growing as an outdoorsman, and as an angler, as a hunter, I think probably my goal is to just whatever I do and whatever skills I acquire and whatever, places I might travel or new techniques, it's just so that I can have a fuller experience of the created order that God has made. Um, would I love to, catch more fish and get more birds and get that buck every year like absolutely. But the goal for me is to just have a deeper appreciation and deeper experience of what God has made and the just a deeper sense of the wonder of it all. Um, and yeah, I don't ever want it to be something that like I put pressure on myself. I think we might have kind of hit on that before a little bit, but um, yeah, and I think goals I have to measure into, okay, it's like what's realistic. I'm probably not at the point in my life where I will go on you know really expensive trips anywhere to do any sort of like kind of high adventure stuff, but I just a goal for me is getting to know a few lakes really well, catching more fish in lakes where I'm confident. Maybe somewhere down the line in kind of in the future, in near future. I've never bow hunted. I'd love to be able to spend more time in the woods doing that. Um, but there I have to kind of pray about it. Is that a way of hunting that I want to invest in, put the time, money, energy into? But um, yeah, just that the outdoors would be a place where I continue to get restored and just grow in appreciation for the beauty of what God's made.
Good. You've
Yeah,
put it in a way holier way than I would put it. I So I've given this some thought when I was on sabbatical. You know, going fishing in the
right.
back of your
Yeah.
truck for 3 months will give you plenty of time to think about like, well, what am I really doing here? And so my goals for fishing are actually pretty defined. The first step, number one, go fishing. It's the first one. So then the second one is to see fish or fish at fish. So, you got that. The third one is to catch fish. And then the fourth one is to catch more fish or bigger fish. So those are my fishing goals. If I get to three, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
So level three, I'm good. It's hard to go fishing in a river all day long and get skunked. That's a little rough. Um, but I'm still halfway to my goals. So that's kind of my goals for fishing. My goals for hunting have really changed a lot. Because I started hunting mostly as a bow hunter, and so getting out there, being around, is so going hunting would be goal number one, and then goal number two would to go after whatever I'm going after, whether that's a doe or whether that's just a button buck. There was a few years where I was just, unless something really big walks in front of me, I'm just going to shoot a button buck
Hmm.
because I didn't want to shoot the does off my place, because you take a doe and that takes 8 to 10 deer for the next 5 or 6 years off your place, right? So I'm trying to keep the population up so that I see deer is always good. But I think the big thing, particularly as a bow hunter, like getting a nice clean shot on your quarry so that that you know the animal's down, the animal didn't suffer. Um, you know, I think that that's an important goal to have
Yeah.
for hunters as well. Whether we're doing a shotgun or whether we're doing anything, we should feel bad, if an animal has to suffer. That's a good thing for us to feel bad
Yeah,
about. So,
that's
um,
important. The yeah, the um you do, I find, grow more. I just grow more and more in that sense of stewardship. Um, I don't like. It's kind of similar. I don't like leaving a treble hook in a fish's mouth that breaks off.
yeah,
I actually feel a lot of guilt over that when that. And sometimes there's nothing you can do.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that fits in with goals because a more skilled angler, a more skilled hunter, putting in the time, um, to practice, to be a good shot, to make accurate casts, to use the right equipment in the right way at the right time, minimizes those kinds of things happening, and protecting
yeah.
the. Yeah.
There's been many times when I've been on a river where I'm just like, I'm fly fishing, and so casting is a big part of that. And like, I'm just like, man, I am on fire today. Like, I'm making all of my casts, I'm putting it everywhere I want it to be. And in some ways, that kind of becomes its own little side quest, right? Where it's just
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm casting great. Why am I not catching fish? um, so that those are always kind of fun. But I think, like you, just being out there is important. Spending time out there, it really does kind of focus you in a little bit more, particularly fishing because you're constantly doing something. Deer
Yep.
hunting is difficult because you're sitting there so quietly and trying to be so still and wait for something to come to you. That's one of the reasons why I like bird hunting so much is because
Mhm.
you're typically going after them, or turkey, you're trying to call them into you, or
Yep.
duck, you're calling. And I really enjoy that kind of aspect to hunting as well. So, it's just kind of an interesting to kind of thing to think about, because like how does this then translate into kind of the rest of our lives?
Yeah.
How do we, how do we set up goals for just being a human? Like as a
Mhm.
pastor, like how do we
Yeah.
set up I mean, as a spiritual director, how do you set up goals? Like how do you get to the end of your day and feel like you had success? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think um I think maybe one of the reasons I do have such a love for the outdoors, for fishing, for hunting, is because when you do have success, it's very measurable. You know, I caught this fish that was 18 and 3/4 inches long, or yeah, or you shot your 9 point buck and you're gonna get it scored, and everything happened, everything came together right. I think particularly for us who have a spiritual um, vocation and ministry, that the results aren't always easily measured, and they have to be yeah. So you can say, oh, I'm gonna set a, I want to have this many parishioners, and this in this many different ministries, or people activated in all these ways, or the budget, you know the budget looking good, contributions looking good. I want these guys hitting these benchmarks in the spiritual life that I'm working with. Um, but there there has to be a balance of that, and I think this is where the outdoors is such a good another good arena for us to play this dynamic out in our lives, is that, yeah, it's like I can know what pound test to have on on my reel. I can know, I can know the wind conditions, and have my scent control figured out for the blind. But at the same time, like you said with your buck, he came out. It was right place at the right time. So that, like, it's important to set those goals. It's important to be prudent and to be, strategic, and and rely on the tradition, rely on the received knowledge. But at the same time, there's a whole lot of room for God's providence in all of it to make it all work. Yeah, and it's tempting, right, to just say, well, I'm just gonna go out, and I'm just gonna cast wildly, or I'm just gonna you can't do that. And there's a temptation to, like, just totally surrender. Just, God takes care of everything. I'm not going to plan. I'm not going to try to be intentional about anything. But that's not what we're called to either. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but
Yeah, no, I think that's in it. It's there. Like, when you were talking, it was interesting to me because I just had this thought of, like, we when we go fishing, right, or when we go hunting, the animals, the fish, they live in 10% of the water, right? So we
Mhm.
look out on a lake and we know I'm not going to fish here because they ain't going to be there, you know. Uh, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to sit in this stand because this is where they're funneling through, and clearly there's sign here that deer are passing by. Why would I hunt 100 yards away and not see anything across the hill? So I think that also helps us set goals in our life, um, because so much it. I think we focus so much on the stuff that we just can't control,
Mm.
that we just can't make any impact on, really. um and we really would be better served kind of focusing on the 10% that we actually can control, and setting some good goals there. I think Jesus kind of talks about this to some extent, where he sends out his disciples, right, and he says, hey, go prepare the way for me, do this stuff. But if you encounter people who don't want you in their town, just shake your dust from the feet and move on.
Yeah.
um and so I think we waste so much time kind of trying to do stuff that just doesn't work. um as a priest, as any person, like, I think it's important for us to have daily goals that we can achieve, that we should be achieving. So, like, getting my liturgy of the hours in every single day.
Mhm.
Like, it's a thing I made a promise to do, so I'm gonna that's my goal, is to do that every single day. So it is, we do need, I think, things to check off on our boxes. But then, like you
Absolutely.
said, so much of the rest of our life is so hard to, like, it's very intangible. um and so that's the difficult part. How do you measure relationship goals? Like, you know um not having an argument with someone, well, sometimes you need to have
Yes.
some of
Yeah.
that tension in relationships, right? Like, that's how you grow, that's how you get better. um just like having failures when we go fishing or hunting teaches us things. I think having failures in life helps and teaches us stuff, you know. And then also on understanding kind of rules and regulations, right? Um, we can't just go out and go fishing with a stick of dynamite. That's bad. We have laws to govern regulations of animals, to preserve those animals and perpetuate those into the future. And so the same thing is true with rules and regulations, I think, with people, and other things in our lives, like,
Yeah.
um no, understanding kind of, all right, well, when I work with Betty, like, these are her expectations, these are the things that she values, and these are the things that are there. And it helps me to achieve the goal of having a better relationship with Betty, but then helping her to achieve her goal as well. um so in some ways it's passing on that thing. And it's not just about us, it's not just about us feeling successful as people, it's about other people feeling successful, you know
Yeah.
as well. And, like, all the people that I sent pictures of that buck to you, and there was a lot of them. But all of them, you know, for the most part, like I could genuinely tell that they were happy for me. You know, they were genuine. Clearly, there was jealousy there. There's no doubt. But like
Holy
all of them were
jealousy, I hope.
happy. Yeah, I've all of them were happy. Um, and so you know that's I think important in life in our own goals is to realize that other people having success as well is actually means that we have success. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and that's something that's something I definitely notice in I think both out, people who love the outdoors, I think reach a maturity in that where they want that joy to be shared with, and that satisfaction to be shared with others. Um I think it's the same thing in Christian discipleship too, that this isn't just for me. Yeah, it might be nice to text those pictures, or show people the mount on the wall, or the tail fan, or the yeah. Um, but you see this in the but I probably most states. I don't know if they have it in Indiana, but there's weekends every year where it's take a kid hunting for free, or take a kid fishing for free, where you don't the there's a great like benefit in freely sharing this gift of this way of life, and this pastime. And it's the same thing. We want to bring everyone into the kingdom of God. And we give freely, because he like the Lord said, he came that we might have life, and have it more abundantly. So
yeah, I agree. I remember in middle school we had we were taking hunter safety course because we're in Indiana, so of course we're going to take hunter safety course. Everybody in eighth grade in the public school, and
yep.
you know, but I remember that there was a little page that had like the steps of being a good conservationist or a sportsman, right? And it was the first one was just kind of learning how to do the thing. How do I do this? How do I shoot a gun? How do I go? The second step was like shooting things, like getting your game. The third step was getting the biggest game or the best game that you possibly could. And then the fourth step, the highest step of enlightenment, was um, getting to the point where you wanted to pass that on to other people, that you
Yeah.
wanted to share that with others, And I think that that's very true in a Christian life as well. You see how Christ gathers his disciples together. He teaches them first and foremost, and then he slowly starts to send them out, so that they can have experiences, successes and failures, and then they can gather back together and kind of talk about it. And
Yeah.
it would be fascinating to have kind of heard those conversations when those 72 disciples came back and be like, hey, we went to this town and like they were all jerks, or
Yeah.
we went to this house and like it was an amazing experience, and just hearing them kind of talk about that, I think would have been fascinating to kind of hear and
Yeah.
how Jesus
Yeah. You
processed with them.
you get just those little tastes of those conversations, like like, Lord, even the demons were subject to us in your name. And he says, well, rejoice not because the demons were subject to, but because your names are written in heaven. He's always that yeah, we can have we can have some satisfaction in our successes, our earthly successes. But the most important thing is that there's this life to be shared with others. And it's meant to expand. And um yeah, I yeah, just and I've definitely tasted that. Like, I think we've maybe hit on it a little bit, but um particularly, I think the outdoors is such a path to that. um because so many people have that shared experience and that shared love. It's just it's just this place that people can identify with so well. Even here at the seminary, like, the guys who are, you just know there. I mean, we had a guy, butchering his buck, down in the basement of the seminary, and the rector was a little bit suspicious, but he realized, like, no, this is what this guy's from Wisconsin, and he got his buck, and this is what he has. This is part of his life, and the life just builds up, and it's just this very real way to encounter the Lord and his wisdom and his generosity. So
Yeah, I think the outdoor life is kind of a perfect thing for Christianity and how it should work. I mean, we have moments where we're in private, where we're sitting in the tree stand by ourselves, and so we're contemplating and with the Lord in those moments. But then, like, I mean, I can't even imagine the outdoor life where you don't share those stories with other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incomprehensible. And I think that that's how Christianity has to be. That's how our faith has to be. And it has to come out just like our love for the outdoors comes out. So when I'm sitting here excited that I shot this big buck and I'm telling you the story, like, that's honestly how we should be sharing the gospel. That's honestly how we should be talking about Christ, of like how we're just kind of excited because this was just such a cool thing that's happened to us and it's been in our life, and we just can't help but talk about it. That's what evangelization, I think, should really look like, is just we're just excited, and we can't shut up about it because it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited by what we've seen and experienced, and we go to others and say, "You could do this too. This could be yours too." Yeah.
And then I think the important thing is like, we as outdoorsmen talk about our failures just as freely, for the most part, just as freely as our successes, right? Just like me sharing the story of like I missed that smaller buck early in the season because I didn't have a 1 yard pin. Like, I mean, it's just, I screwed up. I feel bad about it, and that's the same thing I think in the Christian life is we all the time kind of want to put our best foot forward, right? But we really grow with others when we talk about also just the stuff that didn't work, the failures and whatnot. So
and if you're gonna be in the field, if you're gonna be on the water, there are going to be those failures, and you'll learn more from those than we can possibly imagine, because you don't, probably the most important thing is perseverance. It would be just not abandoning the thing itself, and keep going.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think just keeping at it. I think we guard it to some extent because we're afraid of like what other people are going to say about us with our faith and talking about that. And I don't think that that's a bad thing, right? Because we all know how we would, I mean, we've all had people as priests come to us and tell us about these experiences they're having in prayer or whatever, and you're trying to be polite and helpful and whatnot, but it's their experience, right? It's not our experience, and so we have to understand that has to be tempered. But eventually we have to have people in our lives where we can share things with, and being genuine with them and open to them is how you get insights. Just like there's a local lake that I'm curious about on trying to find a particular kind of fish, and I finally encountered someone who shared with me a little bit of knowledge on that. That was just because we were having a good, simple conversation, and we connected personally, and then he was willing to share, you know, a deeper experience of, something we had in common. And I think that that's the same thing for evangelization for us, is connecting with people first, and then that opens them up to be able to hear what we're saying about Jesus Christ. Um, and it just makes it a bit more of a personal thing.
Yeah, it has to
So
be. It can't be. We're not. We're not going to. You're not going to get a lot of people interested in in the outdoors by hosting like hosting a seminar and saying, hey, everybody come to this place at this time and I'll tell everything you need to know. But it's that personal connection. It's inviting someone out. Um, being patient with them as they learn to cast. you know yeah.
and I
Yeah,
think
there's
realizing
so many parallels. Yeah.
realizing the goal isn't to catch something or to shoot something. And I think that that's important in evangelization as well, is like
Yeah.
to realize that our purpose for getting to know this person and to share the gospel with them is not so that we can hang them on our wall like a trophy.
Yeah.
It's so that we can all be together, where we can
Yeah.
all share in the joy and the happiness
Communion.
of the Lord, um, in a deep, connected way, and then hopefully, expend eternity with the Lord and be
Yeah.
completely happy
Yep.
and satisfied, and not have to worry about trying to get the biggest buck in the woods, because like who cares, because you're with
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So I think goals are important to that, but having realistic goals, having prudent goals, um, is essential in our life. But I think consciously thinking about our goals is very important.
Yeah. I totally
Because
agree.
because it just allows us to have a more enjoyable time, and it helps us just to focus ourselves on what we're really after.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate you joining me this evening. Did you have any other further thoughts?
No, I think you summed it up well. Yeah, the the reliance upon good wisdom and received tradition and regulations and skills and setting realistic goals, but then just having a lot of trust in providence, and it's for the sake of sake of a shared life and a shared communion. um that's our highest calling. And how blessed that we have this kind of avenue into that.
Yep, I think it's great. Um, Having said that, I realized that I, of course, forgot prayer at the very beginning. So, of course,
Well,
we didn't.
we can close with it then.
That's right. We can always end with prayer. So let's do that. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So thanks for the conversation. I think it was great, very fruitful for my own
Yeah,
life,
very
just
good.
trying to think through it. So hopefully you guys like this. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you need to do on whatever platform you find yourself. Share this with other folks if you find it helpful. We find it helpful. Hopefully you find it fruitful. So God bless and happy holidays. And same to you, Father Ben. Thanks for joining
Yeah,
me.
thanks, Father Aaron. Talk to you soon. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Thanks,
We will
everyone.
see you. Take care.